On GAP News, extreme weather conditions put a dampener on Christmas preparations for many. This comes as the Environment Agency issue 150 flood warnings across the UK. Also, Downing Street launches Plebgate Fight Back. Unprecedented public rage over gang rape in India, and Hillsborough's single ahead in race for Christmas top spot. Welcome to GAP News. I'm Gary Pendlebury. Extreme weather conditions have put a dampener on Christmas preparations for many, as the Environment Agency announced floods are expected in more than 150 areas across the UK. Heavy rain in the southwest led to the agency to issue 6 severe flood warnings where there is a danger to life in Cornwall and Devon. Braunton in North Devon, where 2 of the severe flood warnings were issued, saw homes and businesses deluged by rain after the River Cane burst its banks. A £1.2 million defence scheme completed in the town in June was meant to ensure that the chance of flooding was reduced from 1 in 20 to 1 year to 1 in 100. Pub landlord Mark Ridge, 37, took to the London Inn 7 months ago with his wife and 2 children, spending £90,000 renovating it. He said the flood has been devastating for his family. Residents of Helston, Cornwall, were briefly evacuated from their homes, while Cornwall Fire and Rescue Service pumped out floodwater. The Environment Agency said there was a heightened flood risk across Cornwall, Devon, Somerset, Dorset, Bristol, Hampshire, the Isle of Wight, West and East Sussex, North Yorkshire, South Wales, Ceredigion and Gwynedd. Villagers in Ralston, Nottinghamshire, were forced to create their own flood defences by building a clay bank outside their homes, and roads in York were closed as floodwater covered the city centre. In Scotland, 17 flood warnings, mostly in Tayside, and 15 flood warnings were issued by the Scottish Environment Protection Agency. Andrew Mitchell has written a piece for the Sunday Times in which he has accused the police of trying to destroy his career in a smear campaign and says that he was being stitched up. He has also spoken to the Sunday Telegraph and says there has been a sustained attempt to toxify the Conservative Party and reputation after he was accused of calling police officers plebs in Downing Street. Of course, he denies that claim. In a further development, the Mail on Sunday has published the name and the photograph of the police officer who, they say, was at the centre of what happened that night in Downing Street. They claim that the police officer who escorted Mr. Mitchell out of the side door that he wrote the police log in, which he claimed he had been sworn at by Mr. Mitchell, and that Mr. Mitchell used that word, plebs. Some of that police log has been discredited because of CCTV footage that was come to light, as well as other evidence, so there are questions there. Meanwhile, another police office, as well as a second man who does not work for the police, have already been arrested and bailed in connection with this. Tonight, Downing Street is trying to launch a bit of a fight back over this, over claims that they did not back up Andrew Mitchell enough. They have said that the Prime Minister stood behind Andrew Mitchell and that his resignation was only accepted with reluctance. Still to come on GAP News. Unprecedented public rage over gang rape in India, and Hillsborough single ahead in race for Christmas top spot. All that after the break. We'll see you then. Welcome back, you're watching GAP News, and a reminder of our top story. Extreme weather conditions have put a dampener on Christmas preparations for many, as the Environment Agency announced floods are expected in more than 150 areas across the UK. Heavy rain in the southwest led to the agency to issue 6 severe flood warnings in where there is a danger to life in Cornwall and Devon. Thousands of protesters continued to storm the Indian capital of New Delhi today to demand justice and better policing after the brutal sexual assault of a young physiotherapist last week. The protests are ongoing despite the government banning rape protests after yesterday's violence. Areas close to the presidential palace and government office have been declared off limits to demonstrators following a 6th day of action on Saturday. Clashes between the protesters and riot police erupted when a group tried to break through barricades and began to throw stones. Police responded with tear gas and water cannons and used batons to try to control the masses who marched towards the President's residence and Prime Minister's office. Delhi police have today cordoned all off routes leading to British built the seat of power, closed metro subway stations and detained a group of protesters. However, demonstrations are continuing with the cries of "Be ashamed" from protesters. Official data reveals that rape cases in India have increased by over 875% during the past 40 years. Indian media reported the protests are similar to recent demonstrators in Tahrir Square in Egypt. Finally, the Hillsborough disaster tribute single has extended its lead for this Christmas year's #1. The Justice Collective have performed their own version of "He Ain't Heavy, He's My Brother." Latest figures from the official charts company show it has sold 1,400 more copies than the nearest rival X Factor winner, James Arthur. Arthur's single "Impossible" was ahead when its sales figures were announced on Tuesday, but it has lost ground over the past few days. Robbie Williams and Sir Paul McCartney are amongst the artists on the Justice Collective song, which is raising funds and awareness for the legal battle by families of the Hillsborough tragedy victims. The Justice Collective single has now sold 146,000 copies. The #1 will be announced later tonight. Well, that's it for now, but I'll be back at 6 o'clock with much more of the day's news, including the British Heart Foundation has warned that the average person in Britain could consume the equivalent of half a pack of lard in saturated fat and as much salt as would be found in 50 packets of crisps on Christmas Day. And a market trader turned singer is challenging X Factor winner James Arthur's "Impossible" and the Hillsborough charity single "He Ain't Heavy, He's My Brother" for the Christmas #1 spot. Let us know what you think. You can get in touch with us on Twitter, of course, at @GAP_productions. But that's it for now. The weather is next, and I'll be back at 6 o'clock. Thanks for watching.